The Devil and the Three Soldiers. Gather round, children, and listen closely to a tale from the age-old collection of Grimm's fairy tales. This is a story of three soldiers, their desperate plight, and a cunning bargain with the devil himself. It's a story about temptation, wit, and how even the darkest deals can be outsmarted. Once upon a time, there were three soldiers, weary from war and with empty bellies. They were tired of fighting, tired of marching, and most of all, tired of being hungry. The army rations were meager, and their spirits were low. Seeing no end to their suffering, they made a daring decision. They would desert the army. They longed for a life of peace and plenty, far from the battlefield. But desertion was a dangerous crime, punishable by capture and execution. Fear gnawed at them as they slipped away from the army camp under the cover of darkness. They sought refuge in a vast rice field, hoping to disappear amongst the tall stalks. They prayed they wouldn't be discovered. Unfortunately for the soldiers, the army remained camped in the very same rice field. Their hiding place had become their prison. Days turned into nights, and the soldiers' food supplies dwindled. Starvation stared them in the face, a fate almost as grim as execution. They felt utterly hopeless. Just when they thought all was lost, a magnificent red dragon appeared before them. Its scales shimmered like rubies, and smoke curled from its nostrils. But this was no ordinary dragon. It was a demon in disguise. The demon offered them a way out of their predicament, a chance to escape starvation and detection. He promised them wealth beyond their wildest dreams. But, as always, there was a price. In exchange for saving their lives and granting them riches, the demon demanded their souls after 7 years. Desperate and with little choice, the soldiers reluctantly agreed to the devil's bargain. They signed a contract in blood, sealing their fate. The demon presented them with a magical whip. With each crack, it would produce endless riches, gold, jewels, anything their hearts desired. He also gave them a book to sign the contract and a riddle. If, after 7 years, they could solve the riddle, their souls would be free. The soldiers left the rice field, now wealthy beyond measure. They lived like lords, indulging in the finest foods, the strongest drinks, and the most luxurious clothes. They bought grand estates and filled them with servants. They feasted and danced, enjoying their newfound freedom and fortune. But beneath the surface of their opulent lives, a dark cloud lingered. The contract with the devil weighed heavily on their minds. 2 of the soldiers were consumed by fear, knowing the day of reckoning was fast approaching. They regretted their bargain. The 3rd soldier, however, remained calm and confident. He believed he could outsmart the demon. He spent his days studying, learning, and preparing himself to solve the riddle. He was determined to keep his soul. As the 7 years drew to a close, the demon reappeared, eager to claim his prize. He presented the soldiers with the riddle that would determine their fate. He asked them to identify the food, the utensils, and the drink they would have in hell. Their answers would decide whether they spent eternity in damnation. The 3rd soldier, despite his confidence, knew he needed help. He sought guidance from wise men and scholars, but none could offer a solution. Finally, driven by desperation and sincerity, he was guided to the demon's grandmother. It was a long shot, but he had nothing to lose. The demon's grandmother, surprisingly, was sympathetic to the soldier's plight. She saw the goodness in his heart and the desperation in his eyes. She offered to help him trick her own grandson, the demon. She knew his weaknesses and his secrets. The grandmother instructed the soldier to hide in the cellar of her home. From there, he could eavesdrop on her conversation with the demon. She promised to question him about the riddle, subtly extracting the answer without arousing his suspicion. The grandmother, with cunning and skill, engaged the demon in a seemingly innocent conversation. She asked him about his plans for the soldiers, feigning curiosity. She tricked him into revealing the answer to the riddle. The food would be dead sea cat, the utensils would be shark ribs, and the drink would be served in an old horse's leg. The soldier listened intently, memorizing every detail. The demon, confident in his victory, presented the riddle to the soldiers once more. He smirked, anticipating their failure. The first two soldiers, trembling with fear, could only guess at the answer. They were wrong, of course. Then, it was the third soldier's turn. He calmly stated the food and the utensils correctly, shocking the demon. But the final piece of the puzzle was the drink. With a steady voice, the soldier declared that the wine goblet would be an old horse's leg. The demon was defeated. He had been outsmarted by a mortal, aided by his own grandmother. He was forced to relinquish his claim on the soldiers' souls. The contract was broken, and the soldiers were free. The soldiers, now free from the devil's grasp, retained their magical whips. They continued to live lives of wealth and happiness, but with a newfound appreciation for their freedom. They used their riches wisely, helping those in need and living honorable lives. They had learned a valuable lesson about the dangers of desperation and the power of wit. And so, children, remember this tale. It teaches us the importance of resourcefulness and courage in the face of adversity. It highlights the power of good over evil and how even the most cunning adversaries can be outwitted through cleverness and unexpected help. Never give up hope and always strive to find a way out of even the darkest situations. For even the devil himself can be outsmarted with a little bit of wit and a lot of heart.